glad you could make it. We are officially in my absolute favorite season of the year, my absolute favorite reading time of the year. It is officially Fantasy Girl Fall. And if you know me, you know that I am a Fantasy Girl Fall girly to my very core. And I have like approximately 526,000 Fantasy Girl Fall books that I want to read on my bookshelves currently. Like there are approximately 526,000 fantasy plot lines that I want to have already lived in my brain, know all the answers to, lived in the lore of. I want a Fantasy Girl Fall IV drip, okay? That is the kind of vibe that I am in. That's so dramatic. But if I could inject the whimsy that is a Fantasy Girl Fall book and embody it, I think that I would be one of the happiest people alive. Since that's not truly an option, I guess we'll have to settle for reading Fantasy Girl Fall books. It's honestly going to be kind of like a mood reading vlog. However, the mood is Fantasy Girl Fall. Like it is what I am right now. I have no idea where this is going to take me because like I said, 526,000 unread books on my bookshelves that I want to read this Fantasy Girl Fall. Just looking at them. I want to read them all simultaneously at the same time. So we're going to see where this week takes us. I will say though, if you've watched my TBR video, you will be very proud of me for the book that we are starting with, which is Immortal Dark. Me and TBRs tend to not mesh well. I feel like when I tell myself I have to do something, my brain is like, we're gonna do anything but that. Literally anything but that. We'll look anywhere but at your TBR. So this is actually an accomplishment for me. I want to try and be a TBR girly, but I mean, I am a mood reader to my core. And I just said that we were gonna mood read. However, we're starting in a place that is on my TBR, which you know what? It's the first week of October. I'll take it as a win. I have not one singular idea really what this is about other than it's vampire dark academia. Like I said, almost next to nothing. Ever since the author started promoting this book, it became one of my most anticipated fall releases, and ever since I've seen people starting to read it, I need to know. You know those books that sit on your bookshelf and you're like, I have absolutely no reason to believe that this is going to be a 5-6 star read other than the fact that I trust my intuition. And it is going to be. And there is something powerful about a woman's intuition. And I want to be right. But I also want to know. We're going to start off our Fantasy Girl Fall week reading Immortal Dark. And we'll see where it takes us. But what I can promise is that the Fantasy Girl Fall vibes will be felt in full effect. At least on my end. The way that I anticipate happiness I will feel at the end of this, inexplicable. Imagine you took a shot every single time I said Fantasy Girl Fall. Don't do it. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it in this video. Don't do it ever. No soul can enter without an invitation. I'm excited. I'm excited. This is easily the most complex in-depth map I've ever seen of a school ever. I feel like I've already gotten so much lore and information in such a short amount of time. I have quite literally no idea what I just read. I fear I don't understand what I've read thus far. However, I have annotated so much of it because something about it feels important. Something about the writing, the word choice, the little drops of wisdom that she has dropped in here already in the first like 10 pages feels important in a way that demands to be annotated. You know a book's gonna be good when you have this many initial thoughts on literally page 13, but I'll stop interrupting myself after this. But I do have to say, the world building and the introduction to the world, this is some of the best that I've ever read, it feels like. The introduction to the world, the story, the characters, everything, the way that the story is being presented to you is so well done. Like we're getting information about the world that's like slowly painting a picture of A, where the story is gonna go, B, who the characters are, and 3, what kind of world we're living in, with basically no world building, just through the information that the characters is giving us in a way that is driving the story. Like the way that we're learning the world, the characters, the plot this quickly, it doesn't make total sense yet, but it is well done. Like I feel like I have a lot of information that is slowly building out a picture that I will eventually be able to tell you what this book is about in a way that is extremely compelling. has been a while since I last talked to you in this video. The sweater actually went live today, but it will still be available for a week when you're watching this, I think, if the dates all line up the way that I'm picturing them in my head. It'll be linked down below. It's still MadisonKate.com. But finalizing the website and getting all of this stuff ready for that has taken up a lot of my time. I am 180 pages, almost halfway in to Immortal Dark. I'm on chapter 34. And honestly, I feel like this is the type of book that you're supposed to read concurrently. I feel like the little teeny tiny bits of time that I've been reading it, like I've been reading it in such small pockets, individual chapters. That's dramatic. Actually, one thing I really love about this book is how goddamn short the chapters are. Like, it's making me feel successful. Like, you know when you read a huge hardback and the font is like teeny tiny, like it is in here, and the pages feel so long? There's nothing more rewarding than flipping the page and it being like a 1 to 2 page chapter and you're like, I'm so successful, I'm reading this so fast. There's an art to the science of a short chapter. There's something psychologically going on in our brains that just makes us feel like more productive humans when we're flipping through fast chapters. I don't make the rules, but I've been reading it in like such small sprints of time. I feel like I would probably like it and be like more in on the lore and like everything about this world and this story if I was reading it like in bigger sessions, like in less times of sitting and reading it, less gaps between reading it. However, that is to say, I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't want to say it was what I was expecting because I actually had no idea what it was about going in. I went in so completely blind. The fact that it was Dark Academia Vampires was literally all that I knew, which is correct. But the story just, I don't want to say it went or didn't go where I thought it was going to go because I literally had no idea. We're following a main character, Kitten. This is another one of those times that I say the name for the first time out loud and I don't even know how I was pronouncing it in my head. And right out of the gate, my initial thoughts, this book is dark. Like, it reads very dark, not necessarily just Dark Academia vibes. Like, it reads like the sky is black at all times. That's the best way that I can explain it. In the very beginning, we find out that somebody in the house of Adan, which is Keaton, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know how I'm saying her name, which is Keaton's last name, in Uxley, which is this vampire human society. Let me get into it. Keaton's aunt has passed away, which is like the last descendant of the Adan house because her parents passed away, and when her parents passed away, her aunt took Keaton and her sister June, her twin sister, away from Uxley, away from the vampires. There's so much lore in this world. Essentially, to sum it up, let me just even try for even a second. The vampires used to wreak absolute havoc on the world, and the last sage, you just gotta accept it. I don't even think I totally understand it. He put 3 binds on the vampires that made it so they could only feed on these 60 families, and these 60 families came together to form Uxley, which if you do not have an invitation, you can't get in. No soul can enter without an invitation. You can't even find it. It's giving warded by magic, but unless you're invited, you can't even find Uxley. Their kids go to school with vampires, and then the goal is that the vampires find companions and they can drink from those companions after a companion ceremony, and if they don't drink from their companion, it's essentially poisonous to them and their eyes will turn red. There's so much lore to this world now that I'm talking about it. However, it's been introduced in such a digestible way. In the very beginning, we know that Keaton has committed a murder, okay? Because her sister June has gone missing, and she is convinced that her twin sister June is at Uxley, and the last house vampire that she has for the Adan house, or the Adan house has, she's convinced that he has taken her and brought her to Uxley. So when her aunt passes away and she is inevitably offered the house, because she is from one of the founding houses, she decides, if that's the only way I'm going to get into Uxley, and the only way that I can go there is if I graduate the Dranacti course, which is essentially, whoa, there's just so much lore. Dranic is what they call vampires. Acti is what they call humans. So the study of them together and how Uxley works, and like if you pass, you can be the heiress of a house, is called Dranacti. And she needs to pass that course. That's where the Dark Academia-ish comes in. It's essentially their upper education, but it's kind of about the way their society runs. Honestly, it's very cool. This is a very cool book, but she needs to pass that course in order to inherit the house, and immediately out of the gate, her and the vampire that she is with, this is the name. Not even gonna try. I'm already struggling with Keaton. Immediately out of the gate, they hate each other. We have an immediate enemy situation, and I actually recently saw a TikTok where somebody said that this was gonna be an enemies to lovers situation. Tell me why until I saw that TikTok, I had no idea where this was going, and I didn't assume that. I feel like we're starting to get the little first drops of like yearning and attraction, you know? What is eventually going to be the turnover from hate to love? Because I mean, they all burn in passion. Are we right? I know I did an awful job explaining this. Essentially, Keaton has gone to Uxley, which is this place you cannot get into unless you're invited, where humans and vampires, the 60 families and the vampires that are left, because of the 3 bind that the last sage gave that said that they can only feed on these 60 families, which was supposed to be like a safer situation, she has gone to Uxley. She is trying to inherit a Dan house because her parents passed away when she was young and she left Uxley with her aunt, but now her aunt has passed away and she's going back to Uxley to inherit the house. That's the cover, kind of, but really only because she wants to find June, and that's like her be all and end all. It's very dark, reads very dark, not in like a scary way, in like an ambient, we're coming into fall dark way. Not scary, but dark. If you could separate scary and dark, that's kind of what I mean. I'm honestly loving this so much. It's written like very poetically. I want to show you the annotations in here because there's a lot, but you can't see them because of the red. Like you literally can't see how many tabs there are. So I think there's a lot, but I actually don't really know. But the way that it's written is really poetic, but not in like a, I mean, it is beautifully written, but I feel like this is the type of writing that people talk about when they say someone's waxing poetic. I could be wrong, but the way that it's written feels like Machiavellian, for lack of a better word. And I know that that was a crazy reference for me to pull out. However, I do have a university degree in philosophy. However, I clearly didn't pay that much attention because I probably used that like at least a little bit incorrectly. That's what came to mind. So if that means anything to you, that's kind of what I'm getting from this. It's like the dark equivalent version in my head, writing wise, to Annabelle Monaghan. Like, you know, Annabelle Monaghan has these like quippy little one lines. Like I find myself annotating these lines that like loop around and matter in the end of the story. This is like the dark vampire academia version of that kind of writing. It's like comparing apples and forks, like so out of the realm. The way that it's written is really easy to digest. Like I feel like even trying to explain this to you, I understand the world so well, but I don't even realize I've digested so much like minute information that matters to the world and to the story. Everything's introduced to you really well. Like the world development is really well, and like the problem development and the mystery element are introduced very well. Like there's so many things that we have questions to, but it's not like annoying. Like we're getting answers to things and it arises new questions. It's really good. It's really easy to understand. The world is easy to understand. The writing is easy to understand, but it feels rewarding because it's beautiful to read. Like it feels important, kind of. Yeah, it feels important. It feels like a more tuned down, one-linerly poetic version of like an Olivia Blake writing style. Yeah, that kind of is a good way to explain it. It's like a more digestible version of Olivia Blake's writing because you don't have to pay as attention in this as you do in an Olivia Blake book to like really understand the story and get everything you're supposed to get out of it. But it holds that same kind of like importance and beautifulness. I do actually finally have like a decent bit of time in my schedule to just really read, and I've talked to you for far too long, so I'm gonna shut up because I actually have no idea what I'm talking about. I feel like I actually accomplished nothing with what I just said. I think what you can take from this, really good. You should read it. It's really dark academia fantasy girl fall energy, and the writing is really beautiful and poetic, and for some reason I said it was Machiavellian. I don't know. Big rewatching comfort TV shows era right now. Don't worry about Stanley. But I'm rewatching The Good Place, which is to its core a comfort TV show for me. Could not tell you why. It deals with existential crises like no tomorrow. However, I was reminded of the sentiment that the end justifies the means is actually Machiavelli, which does actually describe our female main character in this to a T. So maybe that expensive piece of paper in my closet that says I have a philosophy degree is worth something. I mean, probably not though. Getting out of hand now. We've been reading this for more than a week and it is literally from lack of trying. Like this is so good. It's time. We need to finish this. We're on chapter 59, page 320. We have like just under 100 pages left and things are starting to happen. Now that that hatred is starting to turn from hatred to something else, kind of eating. It's kind of eating. So that was immaculate. That was so good. That was immaculate. After seemingly 2.5 eons, we are officially done Immortal Dark. No, that was immaculate. No, literally, that was just immaculate. You know it's good when the British accent comes out, because that's just like my overwhelmed state of being goes British for some reason. So color me surprised when I went on Goodreads to see if this was going to be a series, because like it has to be a series. The way that this ended, you're kidding me. This has to be a series. And I saw a lot of negative reviews, a lot of gripes with this, and I was reading their opinions, okay, and I was in there with them. I was like, okay, I saw that, but it didn't bug me. I didn't clock them as something that I didn't like in this book in any way, shape, or form. I have not read Ninth House or The Cruel Prince, which is apparently what this book marries. I'm shocked that not everyone is having the same experience that I had with this, okay? I feel like I might have even liked this more if I had read it in a shorter period of time and in larger sittings. A lot of people said that it was choppy, and I read it in a lot of really short sittings and I did not find it choppy, which like that would be the exact moment that you would find it choppy. No, I loved this. I loved it like a lot. I don't know where my rating is gonna sit yet. I'll put my final rating up here, and the only reason that I'm talking about it right now when I don't have a final rating is because I set aside today and I decided that I wanted to read, and I really want to start Belladonna, but I want to give you my thoughts first. I love this a lot. Okay, I think what this does so well and so interestingly is that you're uncovering a lot, and there's clearly no right side. The character growth that the character growth that our main character goes through in this, if there's one thing I can't do, it's pronounce a name in a book. I don't even know how I was reading their names in my head. I think I registered them and I wasn't even vocalizing them in my head. I do that a lot with characters that I'm like, I know who you're talking about, but I don't even say it in my head because like I haven't decided on a way that I'm gonna say it in my head. The way that her character growth and her character arc happened in this, I love a book where a character finds a will to live. I love it. I love it. Okay, you know this about me. Masters of Death changed my life. Okay, I know. I feel like I'm jibber jabbering. There's no right side on this. I think that was what was so interesting. I feel like in the beginning of the book, you assume that there's gonna be a lot of redeeming qualities out of a lot of our characters that you're supposed to hate, you know? And there wasn't a ton. Like there wasn't. The reason that you care for the characters and like you're on their side is because you're getting their story and like you care for them, and like at the end of the day everybody has redeeming qualities. It was a very interesting conversation of like evil and like if evil is everywhere. I don't know, maybe I'm taking too much from this. I also was shocked that it was YA because like there was a decent amount of violence in this that I was surprised by. I liked the vampire-ness of this. I really liked the dark academia vibe. Who is calling me? I call you in like 2 minutes because I'm in the middle of filming. I think this is actually my first Dark Academia, real Dark Academia read. Like I can't think of another book that I've read. And I always thought that I would probably really like Dark Academia. I guess the Atlas 6 is Dark Academia, isn't it? Okay, so yes, I have read Dark Academia and I loved it just as much in this. I think the character growth, the tension and everything that we get in this, like I'm excited for the 3-book arc that this is gonna get. I really liked it. Like I don't think I would change anything about it. I didn't find it choppy and I didn't find it confusing. And I liked all of the characters for what you're supposed to like them, like which is not a lot. I felt for our characters. I very rarely don't like a main character. And I think that's like a personal flaw that I find redeemable qualities in absolutely everyone. I think this devoured. I think this ate. This was like what I wanted when I was coming into Fantasy Girl Fall. It felt dark. It felt heavy. It felt like this conversation between good and evil, and the Dark Academia married with the vampire storyline. Honestly, it devoured. And the storyline in this, and it's like the houses, the whole conversation of what Uxley is, which is the world that this takes place on, or like the society on Earth that this takes place on. All of the rules of all of the houses and all of the way that their like laws literally work was intricate but easily digestible, easy to understand, not confusing, but made the world really big. They had to stay within these confines of these laws. Honestly, I loved it. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I annotated so much of this. Like I think it was like every other page. I ran out of tabs at the end and I need to go back in, and it is a little bit disheartening to me that you can't even tell there's any tabs on this because of the red frayed edges. Like it could be a 5. Like I think there's a real chance I think about this a lot. For what it was, so entertaining. I wouldn't change any of it. That being said, I set aside today and I wanted today to be a reading day because I haven't had a day to just like sit and read. The book that we're going to pick up next, as I said, is going to be Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I kind of always thought that I would eventually read this. I kind of thought about listening to it on audio. Like I have it downloaded on Spotify from last year, a while ago, but I think it's time we officially pick her up. The only thing I know about this is that she was orphaned as a child. She's been tossed family to family. Something happens and she has to form a relationship with the incorporeal being of death. This cover just makes you want to like satisfying in a way that I can't explain. Fantasy Girl Fall is very clearly in full force, okay? I want to do nothing but sit and read these silly books in made-up worlds, okay? that it's weird that the last two books that I've read have had this black 2-page title page because I've never seen it before. But I just got to page 13 and his nickname for her on page 13, I don't know if this will stick, is Little Bird, which was the nickname in Immortal Dark as well. That's weird. That is so weird. There's so many nicknames in this world and I've never seen 2 title pages like that before these 2 books back to back. Weird. Also, right before that, I was reading the first like 2-3 pages of chapter 1 and I got this sneaking suspicion that like I know what this is gonna say. I've read this before. And then I remembered that I actually did listen to a little bit of the first chapter, and then I actually decided to listen to Six of Crows on that drive instead, which is crazy because Six of Crows is literally one of my favorite books of all time. This is what I mean when I say books find you at the right place, because maybe Six of Crows wouldn't have been to me what it was if I didn't listen to it then, and maybe this wouldn't have been for me what it could be for me now in that moment. The Little Bird thing really threw me off. That's really weird. I've never heard that nickname in a book ever, and 2 books back to back, and they have the same title page. Weird. I swear I am quite literally like the most unimaginative person you've ever met, because I don't think I've ever read the back of a book and been like, that'll be good. I remember not amazing discourse about this. Backward? No, obviously it's not backwards or else the pages would be on the other side. Brain rot. I remember hearing like not the most amazing discourse about this last fall, that people were reading it and it was like a cute book, but it wasn't their favorite thing ever. So when I read the synopsis of this, like give me 180 characters and I am picturing a flat, dull, nothing happening story. And everything that I said I thought was gonna happen in this, like based on what I knew about it, Death was an incorporeal being, that she had some sort of relation with Death, and that she was tossed foster parent to foster parent. Like I took that, did not run with it. In 3D, contextualized, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I love going into a book thinking poorly of it and then actually reading it and being like, wait, why is it eating? I have been giving chronically online with how I've been talking recently. Pipe down. Slow down. We're following our main character Signa, who in the very first scene, her mom and dad have passed away along with everyone at their ball, because yes, we're talking Regency era. I don't know if it's accurately Regency era. It's giving Bridgerton-esque. We're in polite society. Everyone at her parents' party has died except for her, and the only reason that she has not died, even though she is drank from her mother and her mother it has been poisoned, is because Death touches her and he does not see glimpses of her past. No, no, no. He sees glimpses of her future, which he's never seen before. Signa being tossed around from family member to family member because Death is following her, because all of these family members want parts of her inheritance, and when you're watching her before she turns 18, like you're her guardian or whatever, would be your guardian in the Regency era, you get a portion of her money for taking care of her. So all these greedy, dare I say shitty, family members are taking her in and taking care of her, and she's kind of just left to her own devices. And so in that time that she's been tossed around from family member to family member, because these family members keep dying and everybody thinks Death follows her, which he might be, she discovers that she herself can actually not die. And her favorite way to draw Death out and just like see him, you know, they've never conversed before we get into this book. We learn that he can converse with her, and we learn that she's more connected to him than she would like to be. But she discovers this connection and explores seeing him and like trying to beat him, because she's like, maybe if you don't kill another family member, I won't have to go to another family and be the weird girl, and I could finally one day maybe get married, inherit my fortune, have a house of my own, and just live. And her favorite strategy to quote unquote die is to eat 5 belladonna berries. When she dies and she's like kind of in between the veil, that's when she can converse with the shadowy figure that is Death. But when probably the worst caretaker that she's had of all, her aunt, passes away, she gets a letter to go and be a very distant family member's ward. But when she gets there, the wife of the family has passed away and the daughter is very, very ill. And that ghost of the mother that has passed away is like, I know you can see me, I know you can help my daughter, and you're gonna help me whether you want to or not. It's actually like not that vicious. I don't know why I said it like that. I read it like that. It's kind of dark and scary. Like it's giving kind of gothic gothic, but like on the scale of gothic, like if One Dark Window is like a cute 7, this is like a cute 4.5, 5. It's giving gothic, but not like overly. I don't know if it would be described as gothic, but I'm reading it and I had that thought. Loving it. Loving everything about it so far. Love Signa as a main character. She kind of reminds me of Dora from Half a Soul, but like a toned down version of her. Kind of speaks her mind, but it's also really trying to fit in. I am just under halfway into this now. I'm on page 189 of like just under 400, which is shocking because it took me, what, a week to read a 400 page book that was Immortal Dark. So who knows? Maybe we'll just wrap this up and finish this today. I always say that and then I never end up doing it when I say it, so I should really just not say it because then I'll trick myself into thinking that I didn't set that expectation for myself and maybe I'll actually do it. Regardless, it's reading time, so we're going back in here. It's giving very much perfect 4-star energy. Wouldn't change anything, but won't change me. Quite a bit more than halfway into this. It doesn't look like it, but we are. We're like a good 40 pages past halfway. It's kind of giving love triangle, but it's also giving like there could be no romance at all. But like there has to be. Why talk about it at all if there's none? But like both would be good options. And like there's really been no romance this far. So like you're not even rooting for one of them. Confusing. Entertaining nonetheless. The whole like whodunit of it all, like the fact that we are kind of searching for something, someone, is like the main driver of what's going on in here. But are we gonna get a romance? It could really go either way, but like we must, right? We must be. No, cause why am I fiending over a fictional character and the incorporeal being of death? What does that say about me? I don't know. Can't be good though. 311 pages. We still don't have like an answer to the whodunit of it all, and I fear we've like crossed this line in that part of the story that if it's any of the people I suspect it could be, it wouldn't be a good answer to the mystery. Or if it's someone we don't know at all, like that would also not be good. So we're at a crossroads and I have a lot of misplaced dishope, fear that the whodunit of it all, like the actual plot storyline of it all, might, like, I don't see a way that it could end very, very well. But less than 100 pages left, locked in, loaded, feeling like I'm in my Regency era. We'll see who done did it. But like none of them would be satisfying endings, I don't think. If I was so good at writing a storyline, I'd write a book, so. Not that I was expecting. Okay, that ending, the twist, the answer that got me, the misdirect, it was there. The clues were there. This is my favorite type of twist in a book, when it happens and you immediately look back and are like, all the signs were there. All the signs were there. Someone else maybe could have guessed it. I don't know, because her misdirect, this plot was perfection. The plot, the storyline, perfection. I loved our characters. Execution was immaculate. I'm always gonna have a soft spot for a book that A, makes you think about like how beautiful it is that we have a finite amount of time on Earth. Like why that makes our life so important and valuable and worth savoring. And I also love a book that can make something dark and dreary like death, the incorporeal being of death, sweet and kind and soft and just love within the balance of eternity, rip my heart out. I connected with this so much more than I was expecting. It was written in a way that was so perfect for your brain that you just felt so much love for the characters, and that is how I felt. Like the way that Signa is written in this, the Regency era-ness of it all, beautiful. The twists and turns, the fact that we have so many amazing plots that are executed so intertwined perfectly. Signa's relationship with death and the fact that she can see spirits and she's been tossed around from family to family, never really felt what love was because her parents died so young. And then also this soft moment of death, this thing that she's always feared, saying, hey, I promise I'm gonna give you something good. Her getting the letter to go to Thorngrove, and then there being this huge kind of whodunit mystery plot, but then that being an important part of it. Okay, that drove the entire story, but it was also like a carrier for like the twist that was the big one. It's moments like this that I wish that I could just tell you everything that happens, like I will to my boyfriend on the phone later, and like spoil everything, because the messaging, the execution of the plot, so good, so much better than I was anticipating. And then when I saw an opportunity that could not be great with the whodunit aspect of it, I was like, okay, maybe this is like where it lost people. And then I just didn't anticipate. I anticipated all these characters that we have in this storyline playing some sort of role in everything. I could have said nothing and meant more. The characters that we know and love, they want you to love. These characters you know and love. I thought they were going to turn out to just like have evil intentions, all of them. I thought there was a way that it could turn around and every single person could be at fault. But how things turned around, I don't want to say I didn't expect the people, but I didn't expect it that way. I feel like I'm at a loss for words. I liked this so much more than I was expecting. This is like that perfect balance between like a high stakes, big fantasy world and something cozier. Like it was warm, it was fuzzy, it felt like a warm hug, it was emotional. The depictions of love in this, I'm gonna cry. And the way that it sets up for book 2, the way that I only want to read that. I don't want to do anything right now but read that second book. And with that being said, I fear the days of Runa. I was so much busier than I anticipated I was gonna be, and like all for good things to be grateful for. However, I didn't get to read as much in this video as I was planning to. So let me know if you hate me for there being only 2 books in this video, which I don't think I've ever done a 2-book video. However, we are in our fantasy girl fall era. She's not going anywhere. I really want to film episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 12 of this. I don't want to do anything but read fantasy books. If you want to get one of the merch sweaters, there's 1 week left on the timer to get one, the 2-week pre-sale. So that'll be linked down below. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and what you thought of them, or if this is gonna make you add any of them to your TBR. I don't know where my final rating for this stands. It could be a 5 upon further thought. This is why I don't rate books right in the moment. I could give this a 5, but that 5-star feeling comes like a little bit after. It's at least a 4.75. Wouldn't change a word. It's just a matter of if it'll give me 5-star feelings in the next couple hours. Is she crazy? Who knows? Love you. Bye. We're officially in my favorite season ever. Fantasy Girl Fall. We're coming for ya.